So we become to the last part of our series in this Arrow series, and I think that this topic that has been chosen for us in the last few weeks is so timely. As I listen to the news, and my heart is all burdened with what's going on with the traditional families. And I pray that the Lord would have mercy on this country. And then I trust that this Arrow series is being so informative for you, and that it hopefully have clarified some things for you parents as you raise your children and aim them towards the target of being champions for Jesus Christ. That's the whole purpose of this. Not only that you will raise arrows to become champions for Jesus Christ, but that they will become world changers. Like an arrow in the hands of a warrior that is being released. And that can impact a battle scene from the distance. So is the parents as they release their children. That will impact this world. The potential of impacting this world from a distance. Because they can go places where you and I can't to spread the good news of Jesus. That's why I love to see our young people. And I trust that they feel at home in their church and with their family. Because we do love them. Right, parents? We love our young people. And as we look at this, and I want to look at the title of our message this morning is to create an environment. How do we create an environment to raise spiritually healthy families? And some of the things that we're going to talk about, some of them that you know them before, it's a reminder to you. And if you are coming to the seminar afterwards, we will kind of unpack some things more in a practical sense. And then we'll share some of the experiences with you. And I'm prepared to say to you, as a parent, it's not easy being a family today. I'm not going to be an alarmist, but it is not easy. But I can assure you, God's people, with God's help, you can succeed. You can succeed because that is God's plan, His purpose for your family, no matter what shape or size they are in. Some of us parents are in the thick of it right now, parenting. Some of us just beginning, some of us are anticipating it. And my prayer is that as you take this journey, allowing God to shape you and mold you into the family that He intended for you to be, you must remember the journey begins in the home. Let me ask you a question. How many of you here today are tired of watching Satan strategically and methodically tear family apart? There's a legislation happening right now in the news in our neighborhood to the south. That it's okay for parents to make sure right at a young age that they can detect their kids if their kids are transgender or not. It grieves my heart to hear that. Satan loves to destroy families because he knows that the deep hurt and disillusionment this destruction causes can drive away people from God and from the church for generations. How many people do you know that don't trust God or who have abandoned the church because something that took place in their family years ago? Just a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a young man. He said to me, God is out of my world. The church is not important to me because of what happened to my family while attending a church here in Lloyd. That is what Satan wants. And I want you to know, loud and clear, that Satan is a liar. He is a liar. He will do everything in his power to keep you from trusting God because he doesn't want you to discover the truth that God wants your family to thrive. He wants you, that is God. God wants you, dear family. God wants your children. God wants your grandchildren and the many generations to follow God and love their God with all their heart, soul, and mind and strength. So now that frustration is out of my head. Grandpa Moses said this in Genesis chapter 6, and we're going to go look at that in a minute, but in the first two verses, here's what Grandpa Moses said. You got to understand, Grandpa Moses is talking to families. If your children obey and follow the commands of the Lord, your children will enjoy long life no matter what comes their way. That is what Grandpa Moses said. And I don't know about you, but this is a comforting promise for us as parents. How many of you want your children to enjoy life, to be happy, content, at peace, and be loved? All of us will do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that life is guaranteed to be easy. It's not easy. We had 3 arrows. It's not easy. But the scripture is clear about that because difficulty will come your way. James 1 verse 2 says that. But they don't have to prevent you from enjoying life. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4 to 9. Look at the slide. And we're going to read those verses. These verses in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9, these are foundational texts to a Hebrew family. If you are a Hebrew family, this is foundational. In fact, it is so foundational that the Hebrew family repeated at least a couple of times, morning and evening. Morning and evening. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9. They call it the Shema, which means to hear God speak to you. It's sort of like a confession of faith. When the parents open the Word and they begin to read the Shema to them, that this is a confession of faith. And you ask any Orthodox Jews today, or the ones during the times of Jesus, even during the time of Moses, and you say, what is the roadmap to a healthy family? Do you know what they will do? They will quote Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9. They will say when it comes to parenting, the Jewish people has a strategy. They have a roadmap. It's Deuteronomy chapter 6, 4 to 9, which says we are to love God with all our hearts, with all our souls, and with all our strength. This is the roadmap for a Hebrew family to a healthy living. So it's very foundational. So I would like to ask you to join me as we read the Shema. Imagine yourself as a Hebrew mom and dad reading to your children, whether it's in the morning or the evening. May I ask for your honor to stand in respect of God's word. And as we read Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9, let's read it together. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today, be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands. Bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. Thank you. You may be seated. Those What a foundational parenting principle that we find. But if I were to summarize the Shema from chapter 6, verses 4 to 9, if I were to summarize that for you, here is the key principle, a foundational principle for parenting your children. It's in one sentence. Here it is. Teach your children to love God. If I were to summarize the Shema, this is it. That's the foundational principle. If you are a parent here, take it into your heart. Teach your children to love God. That is the target. That's the bullseye in keeping with the arrow's theme. Teach your children to love God. And so when it comes to creating the right environment for raising spiritually healthy family, you teach your children to love God. How? Let me give you a few points taken from the Shema here. The first one is this. For you to teach your children to love God, parent them with the end goal in mind. Parent them with the end goal in mind. What is the goal again? Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with your souls and strength. That is the goal in mind. That's the end goal. That's the target. That's the bullseye. And as families, you must agree on it. You must unite around it. You must plan towards it. You must declare it like the Joshua moment when Joshua stood up and he said to the people, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That kind of moment. Go after it. And I tell you why. Because I've seen this happen. Not only as parents, but let me just maybe clarify something here. I don't claim to be an expert in parenting. I will be the first one to admit to you that we made some mistakes, my wife and I, in raising our 3 arrows. But we have also celebrated some wins. So I come to you and picking up some of the things that I've learned that we have, and after pretty close to 30 years of ministry and seeing people come and to hear their stories, to hear some things that I'm just passing on to you. If you're going to develop an environment for raising spiritually healthy family, teach them, parent them with the end goal in mind. With the end goal. Because here's the thing, if you do that, number one, it will motivate you. It will motivate you as a parent. Okay? You are not relying on some kind of a program, because program comes and go, right? But the eternal purpose of God motivates people for the long haul. That's why you have the bullseye. You got to understand that target, because it would motivate you. And secondly, if you have the end goal in mind when you're parenting, it will help you prioritize. It will help you prioritize, because as parents, we have the tendency to what? We have the tendency to put things first, like our jobs, like our hobbies, like our sports, like our finances, like our relationship. Your number one priority is to teach your kid to love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and strength. Everything rises and falls. Listen to this. Everything rises and falls on this foundation. And thirdly, if you are to parent with the end goal in mind, it will help you with your strategy. You're going to be able to say, this is, child, Johnny, this is why we don't watch that kind of a movie. This is why we don't do this. Then you'll be able to clarify the negotiables and the non-negotiables. And that will help you do that. Because as I said before, good children don't emerge by accident. They are the fruit of careful cultivation. But you can only do that if you parent with the end goal in mind. And the reason I emphasize that a little bit more is because do not allow the culture to define the success of your family. Never. You got to see your family the way God sees it. How? By having a clear mental picture of the bullseye. Love God. Child, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. I am not going to deviate from that goal. That's the bullseye. That's where I'm shooting the arrow. So you create an environment in your home by parenting your children with the end goal in mind. And don't wait. Again, the picture of Psalms 127, that has been the key text for us, underscores the significance of parenting with that end goal in mind. Solomon called the children what? Arrows. What does that mean? That means it's presupposing that they are to be launched towards a target. And that parents know what the target is. Our major reason parents fail sometime in their parenting is they have never been clear of what the target is. What is that end goal? Over the years in ministry, I've listened to many teens talking about their home lives. Right away, I get a graphic replay of adult activities. If I could rerun that and tape that incident over and over again, all the experiences with young people coming to my office and talking about their life in their homes, frenzied, directionless, busy. By the way, parents, beware of an empty life, beware of the empty life of a busy person. We can be so busy and feel hollow inside. And busyness became a covering over our own emptiness. As I listen to the teens, it will not take me long to indicate or to understand that there are parents who have lost the sight of their goals. They lost sight of their goals. Here's the second point. You want to create a healthy family and environment with healthy families. Secondly, parent your children by thinking long term. See your family over the long haul. See your children not for what they are doing now, but who are they becoming? Because who they are becoming is what they will take with them into high school, into work, into dating, into marriage. Grandpa Moses said to the Hebrew family, do you know there's only one sure foundation for life? And it is this: you got to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. You've got to talk about this all the time. Take advantage of those teachable moments when you are at home, when you are on the road, when you are on the way to school, because these principles will shape who they are so that someday they can bring who they are to whatever God intends them to be. Think long term when you're parenting. If you know as much as I do in parenting, you know, I'm going to share a little bit of that in our seminar. But I grew up becoming the first generation Christian in my home. I didn't have somebody to look up to how to create a spiritually vibrant family. I did not know that. My wife and I, when we had our first child, oh my. And at the same time, we surrounded ourselves with some good people and good mentors around us. But I want to tell you, if you begin to look short term at your life and your parenting, you are going to be disillusioned. You are going to be disappointed. And besides, if you measure the success of your parenting or the failure of your parenting according to a brief snippet of time, a window of time, it will demoralize you. I know what I am talking. It's time that I say to myself, these arrows, it's not getting through to these arrows. And the next time, they just shock you right out of your boots. And you begin to understand, oh, maybe it's getting through. Why? Because we are thinking short term and we begin to evaluate the success of our parenting to those snippets of time. And if you do that, you got to understand, we live in a broken world with broken children, with broken parents. Sometimes they're going to disappoint you, they're going to hurt you. But when they come to the place, they say, Dad, love you, man. Whoa, where did that come from? Then you celebrate those wins. I know. We are all in the process here, folks. Parents, this is a journey. It is a process. There will be up times, there will be down times. It's a journey that you need to look at the long haul. When you parent your children, think of the long term. You know, the Bible talks about a man who had 2 sons. And one of the boys decided to depart from reality. One day he came determined and rebellious. He said, Dad, give me my share of the estate. And he went off on his own. Was he ready for that? Absolutely not. Anyways, he spent the money foolishly and squandered it in ridiculous, wild living. I want you to focus on the father now. Now, if you were at that time and you have the opportunity to talk to the father, and you ask the father right then, hey man, are you a success or are you a failure? Or you come to him and you added another statement, you pointed out and he said to him, look at your boy. Look what he is doing. I think the father would have said this. You cannot measure life according to this brief window of time. I'm in this for the long haul. Parents, you are in this for the long haul. And the father would have said, I am committed to my son for the long haul. I am committed to my daughter for the long haul. And the Bible said that when the son finally came around to his senses, it was his father who was waiting for him. In fact, it was his father who made the first move, even as his son came preparing to give a long speech to try to earn forgiveness. His father said, son, welcome home. You're in this for the long haul. Do not evaluate your success or your failure in a snippet of time where your kids are so rebellious in one point and you're ready to give up. Don't do that. Moms and dads, if you have a child who is away right now, hang on. Hold on. Keep praying. Keep watching. You're in this for the long haul. You hearing me? Is number 3. When you create an environment for healthy, spiritually healthy family, here's the 3rd one. Parent your children by modeling your faith. These commandments that I give you today are to be in your heart. You cannot give anything to somebody else if you don't have it. And if you want your children to have faith that influences the way that they live their lives and the critical life decisions that they make, then our homes, we need to be modeling faith through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Parents, hear me out. Your success as parents and your family's success begins with you. Begins with you. Not with your children. It begins with you. And your willingness to let God into your life and let Him in the very core of your family. Often in premarital counseling, the first question I will ask a couple as they anticipate marriage, tell me about your spiritual journey. And one just so gone so far right, one gone so far left. Because I take marriage very seriously. And the key to the success of your staying together, folks, is a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Be clear with that. Rock solid clarity. Because that's the beginning of it. And so this is not a beat up parents seminar. But I want to ask you a question, parents, because this is so significant to the success of your family. Let me ask you a question. Where is Christ standing in your life? Where is He? Is He at the very center of your life? Grandparents, let me ask you, is Christ at the center of your life? Is He influencing the decision that you make and the way you live your life? Or is He still outside knocking in? And it's not by accident that Jesus Christ said, I stand at the door and I knock. And some parents that they have heard the knock for many, many years and they have not let Him in. Because your answer to this question is so important because it will directly impact and relate to your family. I know you want the best for your family. I know that. I know you're convinced that you are committed to doing a better job at parenting and to have a stronger family than the ones you were raised in. But here's your chance. If you have never come to a place of having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, parents, do it today. No more just knowledge about God. No more just attending church. But now God is inside of you. And you begin to map out the journey in your family with Christ being put in the center. Do that. Don't go home without it. Very important, because it must begin with you. And lastly, you want to parent your children in a way that it will create healthy family living. Parent your children by making your faith stick. Parent your family by making them stick. Grandpa Moses said, impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. That word impress means to make it stick. Have a faith that will stick Faith that will constantly showing and instilling in your children an unwavering faith that will be with them for the entirety of their lives. And make it a priority for your kids to someday wind up loving God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. Talk about it. Walk along the road with that in mind. Basically, what Grandpa Moses is saying, when it comes to parenting, you must permeate your family with the Shema. Permeate it. Fill it with the presence of God everywhere you go. Because it is true. Faith is better caught than taught. Did you know, Barna Research Institute did a survey on parents who are the most influential religiously in the family, the children. Did you know the top 3 are moms, dad, and grandparents? Do you know where the church and church ministry come? Right in the bottom. Right in the bottom. What is that saying? Mom and dad, grandparents, if you are here today listening to me, you are ultimately responsible for the spiritual welfare of your children. You. It is your responsibility to impress upon your children the love of God that you found in your life. That you make it a priority that you would live and relate and pray and train your children in a way that someday they would make that kind of faith their own. They will be able to say, it served our family so well because we saw it modeled in our parents' lives. You notice that Grandpa Moses did not say, bring your children to Sunday school. And then drop them in the Sunday school and we'll pick them afterwards. Then you see them, you pick them up. Whoa, they have faith. I can assure you, I love Sunday school. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of the supporters. I love to see our kids be instructed in Christian education. But I can assure you, no matter how good our Sunday school programs can become, if you are not modeling, discussing, and sharing your faith with your children in home, their faith will most likely not stick when they grow older. In fact, George Barna noted that. I got it on the slides. When a church intentionally or not assumes a family's responsibility in the arena of spiritual nurturing their children, it fosters an unhealthy dependence upon the church to relieve the family of its biblical responsibility. Many parents rather pass on the responsibility to the church professionals, maybe for various reasons. They did not experience what it was like to have Christ as a part of the home that they grow up in. So they did not know there is other ways. I was in that situation. Being the first generation parent, a Christian parent in our home. Secondly, I think it's the more prevalent reason. This is because the church has enabled them to do so. Hear me out. I'm not downing the programs in the churches. But back in the 60s and the 70s, I can remember this, that there was an explosion of Christian education through Sunday school and youth group ministries. And at the same time, technology was starting to make an impact on societal living. Families began to get busier, work schedules increased, more moms started working out of the homes. And when the church began offering ministry for children and teenagers, it was a welcome relief for the parents because it's an opportunity to bring their kids to church for a time, for Christian education, and for fun. And quite honestly, for many parents, this provided a needed break from their children. While everyone's intentions were good, many parents started to see these programs as an opportunity to pass on the faith nurturing responsibility to the church. That was not the order of things. You dropped off your kids to the church and let the pastors and the professionals work to teach them faith. That's backwards. The children's program, the church program, reinforces what the faith that they have heard from their homes. That's the order of things. I want to share a couple of thoughts with you and I close before I wrap this up. You have a responsibility as Christian parents to establish a legacy, a passing of the faith baton from generation to generation. And I want to say this to you from the bottom of my heart. God in His sovereignty will provide the grace to work in your life and the life of your children because of the covenant that God has made to His people. And He will reinforce it in your life. Some of you, your parents paved the way for you to come to the Lord because of the God's promise to you. Now you are part of a legacy of parents who lived out their faith. You are now passing it on to your kids, hopefully to your grandkids. And hear me out. And if you are the beneficiary of this legacy of the baton of faith being passed on and on, don't you be the one to end that legacy. If it's passed, it is being passed on through a few generations to you. Do your part. Do it with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Make it a priority in your life to be someone who continues this legacy throughout the generations to kids and grandkids. So it would be said of you someday that you didn't screw it up, but you kept it going. Now, others of you like me, for generations, it was just been a bad deal. The home was not where it was to be. You grew up with a home where there's no Christian instructions in the home. Then you became a Christian. And you know what you are? You know what you are? If you are the first generation Christ follower parent in your family, you are the beginning of the covenant promise of God to your kids. And their kids, and their kids, and their kids. You get to be where all the non-Christian in your family ended and all the Christ following began. And if you achieve nothing else in your life, Mosaic, but the establishment of a legacy that passes a faith baton and a character baton and a love baton from this generation to the next and the next and next, you have done something very significant in your life. And the future generation of children will wake up and stand up and look to you and call you blessed. For the rest of their lives. Oh, may God bless you as you take the awesome responsibility given to you to raise those arrows that someday they will rise up and call you blessed, because you were not the one who stopped the legacy. If you have not begun that legacy, start it today and begin to be the one who passes the baton of faith and love and grace to the next generation. God will bless you for that.
you for joining us at Mosaic Church. If you have been blessed by today's message, or if you have made the decision to receive Jesus as your Lord and Savior, please let us know about it. Email us at mosaiclloyd@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you wish to know more about our church, you may visit us online at www.mosaiclloyd.com. God bless you. See you again next week.